see if it will work for me. Najua niko na vitu
Okay.
mingi, niko na screens mingi. Content. Live. Imekuja. So, we are going to do a, how do you call it? We're going to do a mock interview. The idea is I'm just going to ask you questions and see how you answer. If you answer correctly, then we just move on. If you don't answer what they expect, then I give you ideas on what they expect.
Okay. Let me just post this live on the other side. So let's start by looking at one aspect. Where is that? Oh, where is that thing now? I've lost it. Tell us about your teaching experience and your qualifications. Okay. I have a Bachelor in Education, Special Needs Education with IT, and the qualification is the class is first class honors in Kenyan University, and I've worked for 8 years after my graduation. That is in 2016. I've been handling learners with disabilities. Yes.
So when you talk about the learners with disability, make sure you also talk about like the ages of the learners. Don't just talk about learners with disability in general. You can say I've handled learners with disability from the ages of whatever 4 years old to 12 years old, and during that time I handled these types of disabilities, and then you list like 3 or 4 or 5 disabilities that you've handled before.
Okay.
As you complete that thought of learners with disability.
Okay.
Any highlights that you want to say?
No.
Highlights mean like any things you're proud of.
Things I'm proud of.
Yes, in your, like, did you do something that was, like brought you a lot of recognition? Did you get an award? Did you any highlight that happened in these years that you've been teaching? Can you fix something there?
Okay. I can I can talk of taking these learners with disabilities to sports, especially the ball games, where they could participate.
Yes. Now you can say that I in during this time when I was handling these learners, one of the highlights is that we managed to reach the district level or the provincial level in para, how do you call the sports? Their sports. Paralympic. Oh, not for Olympics, but for them. It's called what? I don't know how you called it. They have
Paralympic.
Oh, it's called Paralympics.
Yeah.
No, Paralympics is for Olympics. Whatever name you give it, you can talk about that type of sport and tell them like during this time I handled these learners and we went to this sporting event and my school got the #1 spot in the province. That is one of the achievements that came in because of you.
Okay.
Yes, so you add that into your resume.
Okay.
Now tell me how do you plan or how do you structure your lessons?
How I structure my lessons.
Yes, how does a lesson look like typically in your classroom?
Okay. First of all, making sure that the learners are ready for learning. That is, they settle in class.
Mm-hmm.
Then do an introduction part of the lesson, which is majorly checking on the understanding or relating the lesson that you want to teach
Mm-hmm.
with the knowledge that the learners have.
Okay.
Then begin the lesson.
Mm-hmm.
That is now delivering the content, the actual content, considering the time that is given.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Then in the process of this lesson, the teacher, okay, myself, I will teach. Then I incorporate learners. I make sure that the learning is learner-centered, where the learners also do participate in the class. We
Mm-hmm.
do the activities together. Then later on, I'll give them time to do on their own. And by the time they do their work, I go around checking on the ones who are stuck as I give the help.
Okay.
Yes.
And how does your class feel like? Is it a structured class or is it like group work? How are the learners? How are the learners in your classroom? Like, what is the
Group,
classroom arrangement like?
it's group work
Mm.
arrangement
How are they grouped?
where the learners are grouped into four.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, depending on the number. If the number is big, they can be grouped into four. If the number is less, they can be in a group of three.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you're planning and structuring the lesson, make sure you first of all give an overview. Just tell them like my lesson is structured into 4 parts, or my normal lesson is structured into 3 parts. There is the introductory part, there is the main lesson, and then there's the end part. And now in the introductory part, this is what we do. In the middle part, this is what we do, and at the end, this is what we do. Which you've already said correctly. Like what you said is what you should be doing.
Okay.
So.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now let's move on to your teaching philosophy. Why do you teach? Why did you decide that teaching is the one that you want?
Okay, I've been having passion in teaching and especially dealing with the learners with disabilities because I believe in diversity and inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
So it is the passion that drove me into teaching.
Mm, I'm not convinced.
Okay.
What you do, try
Yes.
something that maybe about your background that drove you into teaching, or and also because you're teaching learners with disabilities, try something along that line that you saw that there was a need for for people to someone to step in and help the people who the learners, especially learners with disabilities, and that's why you developed a passion. Ebu, construct that sentence.
Okay, when we talk about that, actually, it's
Mm-hmm.
true that I first of all had an experience with a learner with a disability
Mm-hmm.
who happened to be an orphan who stayed with her aunt.
Mm-hmm.
The girl became grown up and
Mm-hmm.
could not get the proper support from the relative.
Mm-hmm.
This learner was being ignored, was not taken to school, was just at home taking care of uh, family chores.
Mm-hmm.
So I became so much touched with this situation. That is why I decided that I want to become a teacher and specifically
Mm-hmm.
dealing with learners with disability, at least to impart that knowledge in them and bring the sensitization to the parents
Mm.
so that they can know that these learners can learn just like any other person. They have the ability.
Aya, sasa umesema, unaona hiyo yenye umesema, that
Mm-hmm.
is the answer of why do I teach.
Okay.
Exactly the way you've said it, that I started First of all, I was not even going to be a teacher. And then one of the days I was sitting, I went to stay with my aunt, or I went to stay with my whatever, whoever. And then there was this girl I kept seeing. She had a disability and she was just neglected. She did not go to school. And so I developed an interest and wanted to know how can such people be helped. And that led me to going to school to learn about disabilities. And now that is why I'm a teacher. Unaona? So that is
Yes.
the story that you stick to.
Okay.
Yes. And that is called
Thank
the
you.
teaching philosophy.
Okay.
Mm. Hi. Now, tell us about accommodation. How do you accommodate students with varying abilities, not disabilities, but abilities? How do you accommodate different abilities in your classroom?
Okay, first of all, I understand how these learners are able differently.
Mm-hmm.
Once I've identified the ability of these learners,
Yeah.
then I work with each learner depending on the strength and the weaknesses,
Mm-hmm.
specifically working on the IEP, individualized program, individualized education program,
Mm.
where I identify the strengths, the weaknesses, and what is supposed to be done to the learners.
You are kind of mixing up issues.
Mm-hmm.
We are asking how do you, as a teacher, separate, like make sure that Chege and Dontiri, the live video iko kwa nini, iko kwa Telegram, unaingia huko, link iko kwa Telegram, ingieni nayo. You are mixing the answer that you are giving.
Okay.
Because I don't want you to talk about IEPs, but I want you to talk about instruction. When you're giving instruction in the classroom, how do you differentiate ability? Like those slow learners, those who are fast learners, how do you differentiate so that you give instruction to all of them? Usiseme maneno ya IEP bado.
Okay. Then checking on their strengths and weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Like, how do you ensure that John, who is a very fast, he understands very fast, and Mary, who has to be explained to 100 times, both are learning at the same time, and John is not bored because Mary is asking continuously, and Mary is also learning. Like, how do you ensure that happens in your classroom?
This will be seen in their behaviors, on how they react to the questions that you ask, and even how they become attentive to the lesson.
Yes, but
You'll realize that
how do you differentiate instruction? Bado hujajibu.
hapo nimelemewa.
Eh?
Hapo nimelemewa.
So one way you can talk about is you differentiate by giving different products. You offer different products to the learners. One learner, when John is, for example, you use videos for teaching, and you also use peer and group work. So when one learner is, for example, the learners who finish some work early, you send them to watch a video of the next lesson. As these other learners, you're giving them grouped instruction. Then if one learner still does not understand how to do the work, then you can pull them out and give them a quick lesson on how to do the work.
Okay.
Unaelewa?
Yes.
Yes. So when they're talking about how you uh, are differentiating instruction, they're actually asking about what the teacher is doing, not what the learner is doing. So what the teacher
Okay.
is doing to ensure that everybody in the classroom is learning.
Okay.
Yes. So do you want to try it again? Give it a shot with whatever we have discussed and see whether you can bring some sentences.
Okay, I would say that
Mm-hmm.
I give different products to the learners.
Mm-hmm.
That is, some learners can be working in groups, others can be working with the videos, that is, watching the educational videos.
Mm-hmm.
So once a learner who finishes work faster
Mm-hmm.
has been identified in this class, the learner can be given another work
Mm-hmm.
or another instruction to take care of as I
Okay.
continue with other learners who are slow learners. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll improve on that answer. It is, at least it's a working answer, but you'll improve on it.
Okay.
Yes. Now, the next thing I want to know is how do you assess learners? How do you know that they have understood the content in your classroom?
That is by giving them an assessment to carry out,
By
doing an
giving them a
assessment
what?
with the learners. Assessment, some tests.
Mm-hmm. Just give us the entire. Able to give us what happens. Tell us what happens.
Okay, the learners. I will give the learners questions to tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Then I compare the questions with the lesson objectives if they've really understood my content that I delivered to them.
Mm.
Yeah, so the answers will be compared to the lesson objectives to be sure that they have understood.
And how many types of assessments do you do? Do you have many types of assessments? Do you have one type of assessment?
Yeah, I can give written assessment. I can give out project to carry out.
Mm-hmm.
I can give out oral questions.
Mm. So
Yes.
to structure that question, to structure that answer, you'll talk about the assessment during learning and assessment
Mm-hmm.
after learning. So assessment during learning is where you give them formative assessments. Raise your hands if you know the answer. Write the answer on your book. Let me walk around and check. You know, things like that. That is called formative assessment. Just assessing as they are learning. Give them three
Mm.
questions. Everybody do it. Work silently and complete these questions and see whether you get them right. And then you during that time you can tell which of the learners is understanding and which is not understanding. Then now there is a summative assessment, which is the assessment after learning. This is the one that you say that you give them a written test that is standardized or a written test about the end of the chapter. And in this written test, you identify which students understood the concept, mastered the concept, did not understand, and where they're struggling. Tunaelewana?
Mm.
Yeah. So you must talk about the two types of assessments. That is the formative assessments, which is assessment during learning, and the summative assessments, which is assessment after learning. And once you've talked about those two, then give details of what type of assessments do you do during learning. Like how do you assess class during learning? How do you know that this topic students have understood? For example, I give a quick quiz I give three question quiz and see which students have understood and which ones have not. And if many of them have understood, then we move on to the next topic.
Okay.
Yes. Now, describe a particularly challenging teaching situation you faced and how you handled it.
Okay. A situation that I've encountered which is challenging is when one of the learners was not coming to school regularly, the absenteeism.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to sit the learner down, talk to the learner first, and inquire the reason as to why he's not coming to school every day. Then I made sure that I talked to the parents to know the cause. And after that, I guided the learner accordingly and also talked to the parents to help me push the learner come to school.
Now, the situation, in as much as you've talked about it, is very vague. Ebu, ungesema like, what are the interventions that you actually did that made the learner come to school? Yani ungeongeza ma viungo.
Oh, lazima viungo viwekwe.
Yes, we have to know, because this question says describe a particularly challenging teaching situation you faced and how you handled it, which means you actually have to tell us how you handled it, who was involved in handling it, what happened, and the results of the handling.
Okay, after talking to the parents and the learner and knowing the cause of this problem, for me to make sure that the learner came back to school, I had to buy a textbook as a present, then gave the learner a surety of giving this book to him if he comes to school regularly, consecutively for 1 week.
Say tapo umechoma. But you'll work on that. You'll work on that. You already have the situation. Now you'll work on how it happened. The small details.
Let way forward.
No, we'll see. I think Lucy atakuwa kwa nini Chege pia anataka na Eric. So they will answer that question and then we'll see. We'll compare the answers.
Okay.
Yeah, now the next thing I want to ask is, do you use technology in your classroom?
Yes.
How?
The technology is used in the classroom, especially when after the learning, the learners are given that opportunity to go and do more research on the topic that has been learned at home.
Sasa
And in class,
umefika nyumbani. Tumesema, do you use technology in your classroom?
in class. Okay.
Alafu
Yeah, in
nikakuuliza
class.
how?
Okay, it is used in class, especially when presenting certain contents or topics. So it is normally used. I don't know. You can help me.
Okay, the other question is, do you integrate technology
for
in your
presentation,
teaching?
that is.
Now, this is another question. Do you integrate technology in your teaching? And also, it's okay to say that you don't if you do not, okay? Because they understand that these people are coming from a country that sometimes they're in an area where there is no power, But if you do, you also have to tell us how you do.
Okay. Wow, okay.
Hiyo imegonga mwamba.
Imegonga mwamba. Because actually, the area where I come from, they are not there.
Ziko tu. Wewe ndio hujatafuta vizuri. Okay, the next question I want to talk about is, how do you encourage parent involvement in the child's education? Ama wewe watoto wanakuja tu kwa shule, wakikuja sawa.
Hiyo ni tofauti na ile nimejibu.
Hiyo ni tofauti. How do you encourage parental involvement in the child's education? Aya, tuende kwa next. Do you have discipline or behavior issues in your classroom?
Yes.
How do you manage them?
by identifying the problem. If it is a behavior, first of all, I understand, I have to know that it is what kind of misbehavior. Then I guide the learner accordingly and make sure that the behavior is not repeated again.
How do you make sure it's not repeated again?
By keeping checking on the learner's behavior.
But what if they repeat? What happens?
Hapo sasa nitasema nini? Unajua hapa tunatandika, sasa sijui huko inakuwa aje.
Ukisema hivyo
Hapa tunachuna. So that is why I can't answer that.
Write that down. Write down that behavior issues, because we shall answer that together.
Oh, okay, can you reframe it?
No, I'm just saying write it down as in your notes as one of the questions that we should handle before we finish.
Okay.
How to identify behaviors and how to handle behaviors in the classroom. Now, the last thing. What are your professional goals in 5 years' time?
Professional goals.
Yes.
Itabidi tuchangie.
Unasema I am permanent and pensionable. Sawa. Wewe kwa interview umepata 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to still work on a few things. Now, I want to do like a few of them so that we see, like we compare answers and then we see like the direction your answer should be taking. Not that we are giving the answers, but the directions you should be thinking about. So. Overall, you didn't do as bad. The thing that I think you have to work on is you have to work on ideas about learners and how to work with learners. You have a lot of strength in classroom, the lesson and the subject content areas, but you do not have a lot of strength in parent management, discipline issues. You do not have a lot of strength in that. You do not have a strength in utilizing technology, and what else? And you do not know where you're going in 5 years. So that's why you have a 5. Sawa.
Sawa.
Haya, wacha tuende kwa Mr. Chege. Mr. Chege, uko tayari? Chege anisikii. Kanyingiri. Chege. Hala. Chege amepoteza network. Tuende kwa Lucy. Lucy. Hebu unmute kwanza. Nakusikia lakini uja unmute.
All right. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, I can hear you very well. Karibu.
Okay. Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm fine. Habari ya leo?
Okay. Thank you. Nzuri.
Umekuja interview na uko tayari?
I can try.
Sawa.
Nisikia mwenzangu amenyolewa kweli kweli.
Amenyolewa but that is the idea. The idea is just unyolewe hapa so that by the time
hizo
inafika
maswali.
by the time inafika kwako unapata hii nilishajibu.
Okay.
Yeah. So let us start with yours,
Yes.
And let's start with you telling us about your teaching experience and your qualifications.
Thank you so much. I did my Bachelor of Education Arts, graduated in 2013, majored in History and Religion. I was first employed as a P1 teacher in 1999. Then I did my diploma in administration and recently graduated in master's in administration.
Unajua sisi hatujui P1 ni nini. P1 ni
Okay.
Wakenya tu ndio wanajua.
Hizo nisiseme.
Yes, you know, you say the meaning. What does
Okay.
it mean?
All right. That is primary teacher 1. Yes.
So, in your teaching experience, do you have any highlights?
Could you maybe elaborate?
Highlights are things that have happened that you're proud of.
In the classroom or
In the
general?
classroom, as you in the profession, have you been identified as a teacher by, I mean, the district,
yes,
whatever?
yes.
So what are some of the highlights? What are some of the things you're proud of that you have done because of you? They have happened. That's what we call highlights.
Okay. Last year I was given an award for having the best performance in my sub county. Here now, yes, in my subject in history. And how about sports? Can I add in co-curricular?
Yes, everything.
All right. In same last year again, I participated in taking the learners to national sports. That is volleyball. This year, I was a coach and we reached county level. Yes.
So you put it in context by saying like our county has 7 or 8 teams or whatever, like the number of schools in the county. Then we became the first. So then they know like, oh, that was a big deal.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
And ulisema the first one was about the how many whatever the best in what?
The best performing class in the county.
Okay, now when you say about the best performing class, do you know how many A's, how many B's, like approximate? Not
really.
no, but you have to give us, like you have to have in the fly. You just say like, my class, I had 100 kids to sit for the state exam. Ausemi KCPE, unasema state examination. So
I thought you were asking about the whole county. Oh, okay.
No,
but
no,
in my class, I had
class
71.
Yes, now you'll say, this is how you're supposed to answer that question. Okay. Over the years, I've had very good performance in my classroom, both inside the class and outside the class. Now, last year, I was lucky because of the 71 students in my class who sat for the history state exam, I had a pass rate of 92%, of which 50 of the students got an A and 42 got a B. Unaona? Okay. So this was recognized by the county government. Okay. Now the other highlight is on the sports. But I have in our county we have seven other schools that we compete against. So last year, our volleyball team managed to get to the provincial level by beating all the 7 teams, and I was awarded at the whatever ceremony.
Yes.
Inaeleweka sasa, si ndio?
Sawa.
Those are called your career highlights.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yes.
Good. Now tell us about how do you structure your lessons in a classroom?
My lesson is structured in steps, with every step having a specified time. We have the part for introduction. Then we have the part where We can perform other activities where we have activities like discussion groups, explanations, presentations. And then we have the last part, which is the conclusion, where we recap what we have learned for that lesson.
Okay. And what happens in the group part? Where do you talk, say, the group work part?
In the group part, I as a teacher, I will sometimes ask the learners to join their own groups, or you pinpoint the groups, the learners that you want in particular groups, and you give assignments. Maybe you give them a short discovery time. And then after that, each group will appoint someone, one of their members, who will come to present their findings.
Okay. Do you have situations when you have direct teaching?
Direct teaching is where the teacher presents. Yes, we do.
How often is this?
Lecture is always normally incorporated in nearly every lesson. But hapo kidogo.
Yeah, usiseme lecture uko nayo mingi sana. Utasema tu
Yes.
when I'm introducing a new topic and there is a concept that I think the learners must get so that they don't have misinformation, then I have to use lecture method. Otherwise,
for
most
example,
of the time, I do other methods.
All right.
So
like during the introduction and especially during conclusion or after presentation, when you feel
after
that
presentation, when you're now
they did
summarizing.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sawa. Now, I want to request that kuna venye unaweza eka hiyo simu kwa ikue stable because umeishika.
And move.
Yes, I want it to be stable. Ukiweka tu chini kwa hata weke kitabu juu yake na weke kwa wall hivi. Ama
unless nisonge.
Usisonge. That background is
Nikisonga
okay.
light.
Yeah, that background is okay. Sawa, it's okay. Let's just go on.
So I will minimize my movement as I talk.
No, it's okay, but when you're doing your real interview, make sure umeweka hiyo simu, you're not touching it. Like, unaona venye yangu iko stable? Haisongi. Because it is there.
Unatumia laptop?
Hapana, mi natumia nini? Mi niko na camera. But it is on its own. You know, I can decide to start moving it and see what will happen when I'm talking. It will go like that.
Distractions.
Yes. So that will distract them.
Yes.
So
I get you.
Yeah. Aya, sasa tuendelee kwa the third thing that I want to know is why do you teach?
Why do I teach? I love teaching. As a young girl, I used to love watching movies. But now there was one particular one called Relic, about a girl who would be given assignments to find old artifacts. And after watching so many series, so many episodes, I got hooked into trying to find the origin of things. So that's why I loved theory. I loved history. Yes. That's why I decided that I wanted to teach history. Initially, actually, I wanted to go into archaeology. But as I grew up, I changed. I wanted to teach children how important it is to know the origins of things, where things come from, where things started. So that's why I decided to join teaching and to teach history.
Also, in addition to what you've said, which is very nice, add something about you visited a museum or you visited whatever, something along that line.
Okay.
You visited an archaeology site, olo sijui nani wale wa. Si Kenya ndio walipatanga hiyo kitu.
Ndio.
Say that thing. Say, like, in
Yes.
Kenya, that is where they discovered this thing. Now, when I went there and I was told this is the origin of man, that even made me more interested in teaching history, because I wanted to learn, how things evolved and all that. Unaweka hiyo kwa mix, but the answer you gave
So
was just good enough. But I'm just saying that you can improve it with that.
I can add.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Now, how do you differentiate instruction to meet the diverse needs of your students?
First of all, during your preparation, you have to know the type of learners that I have. I have to know.
Mm-hmm.
I may, or if all the learners understood the previous concept that we learned. So from there now, I will tailor my lesson, my teaching, to cater for all the levels of learners that I may have in my classroom, where you use different strategies, different methods. Yeah.
What are these different methods?
The ones I've just mentioned previously. One was grouping, discussion.
Can you tell us, like, okay, the learners who are high flyers, this is what I do with them. The learners who are struggling, this is what I do. The learners who are just in between, this is what I do.
Okay. The learners who may be struggling, you will go with them an extra mile. For example, we normally do extra learning. Then the learners who grasp concepts so fast, you will give them added projects to do. Yes. So sometimes you will mix them up with the learners who are in the middle.
Okay. So you'll polish that. It is coming, but utai polish,
Okay.
Just polish it and add things like, I will do these ones. I give them some oral presentations. I give them, whole group. I give whole group instruction, and then I go to small group instruction. Then I go I pair the learners to work together. Then things like that.
Okay.
Then I give individualized work for the learners who are really high flyers, and they're way ahead of the classroom.
Yeah.
Okay, things like that. Just make sure when they talk about that, make sure you actually show that you are able to tell that there are many types of learners and many types of, and all these learners can fit into many types of learning, of instructional methods.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Aya, how do you know that students have learned what you're teaching?
I can do an assessment at the end, a summative assessment, by asking them oral questions. You can even give them, sometimes I give them a short quiz to ascertain if they have learned.
Does your school have a standardized way of doing this?
In the classroom, it depends on the particular teacher. For example, in my lesson, in that particular lesson, I can use the ones I have mentioned and probably others. But as a school, we have exams in the middle of the term, at the end of the term.
So how does the school know that history topic 1 has been covered by all the teachers in the department? How do you know that all the students in this class have covered topic 1, or do you wait until topic 5 when you're doing the exam?
Now, this one falls on the heads of departments. The head of our department, the history department, really has to check.
How do
with
they
the
check?
particular teachers. They check their preparation materials, but most importantly, they will check the learners' books if they have really been taught those topics.
Okay. So, what you do as a department, don't put your nini under the bus like that. Your boss. You say, as we have a departmental head, whose work is to compare the pacing in all the classes.
Compare.
The
Okay.
pacing in all the classes. So this they see like, okay, this class has paced to this level, this class has paced to this level. Then we do, sometimes we do pop quiz, but it is a common quiz for all the classes. Unasikia? We do a common quiz for all the classes. That way we compare the feedback. We sit down
All
as
right.
a department and we compare the feedback, that okay, what did your class, how did your class do in topic 1? How did your class do in topic 3? Things like that. No.
Yes.
Yes. Sio lazima iwe kitu inafanyika, but now you can build it like that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I saw that you had already answered the question I asked correctly. So I wanted to push some more.
All right.
Yes. Okay. Now, describe a particularly challenging teaching situation you faced and how you handled it.
This actually happened just last week. A teacher was due for maternity leave, and her time had not come, but because of medical emergencies, she had to leave. So I was called in to pick her lessons, to pick up the slack in her lessons, to teach. So I quickly had to change my plans to incorporate the other class that I had been given.
So what
Thank
did you
you.
do?
Now I'm teaching that class. I had to prepare myself, prepare lesson plans, prepare teaching materials. Yes.
Unaona hapo hizo zenye unafikiria ati sio points, hizo za now I had to do this and this, those are the things that we wanted.
Oh.
Eh.
Sawa.
So because this teacher, I had to, what I had to do, I'm just continuing with what you have said. What I had to do is
Yes.
I had to integrate these students into my classroom. Now I noticed that their teacher had a way of giving them instruction that was a little different from mine. So I had to
Exactly.
adapt, and also I had to quickly tell them how I do my instruction. Like the first week,
Oh.
yeah, like last week, I was just giving them a way of how I do my instruction, how I do my group work. You know, I had to bring them into my way of doing things so that they are comfortable with me as a teacher, and they do not feel that they've been abandoned by their teacher.
Actually, I did all those you are saying, but
That's what I'm
now
saying. I just wanted you to explain, because that is what you actually did. I knew that is what you did.
I even gave a short quiz to see
Exactly. Sasa hizo mas short
if
quiz
they are
hizo,
at
you
par
have
with
to
my
explain.
class.
Exactly. Ebu, those ones you have to include, because those are the things they're
Oh.
asking. What did you do?
So every nitty-gritty, you
Yes,
tell them.
yes,
All
yes.
right.
Because I know you did those things, but now you are like, Missy Jui.
Yeah.
Ah,
We
yeah.
are learning. I learn every day.
Yes. Do you use technology in your classroom?
Yes, I do. I do.
How do you integrate technology into your teaching?
Technology is normally, like other steps, technology is one of the steps in a teaching, say a topic during history. You can assign them, because we have the government issued tablets and desktops. You can ask the learners to find some meaning of a word, to find a place, identify a place from the internet, and so on, or even some notes from the internet.
When you say some notes from the internet, what does that mean?
Some information.
No,
Some
like
information
how does that happen?
for example, you want them to find the background of maybe a historical figure. you would ask them to look up that name from the internet and maybe write down the notes and present to you or the
So
group.
that is the answer we were looking for in the first place.
Oh,
That is how I use technology. So these are the way I use technology. My students, we have digital tablets which have been supplied by the government, and these digital tablets have the ability to get to the internet. So when we are in a topic, for example, I'm in a topic where we are looking for some information on a historical personality. I will give the students time to go and do some research on this personality. Then they will come out and either make a presentation, or they will a slide present Google slide presentation or PowerPoint or something like that, or they will come to the front of the class and present their findings.
yes.
Sawa.
But sasa wewe unajua hizi. As we are picking.
Haya, we
Never heard
sasa.
of this.
There's another thing you have not told me. Yourself,
Yes.
how do you integrate technology? Now, not the children. How do you use technology for teaching?
Same. I find more information about a particular topic that may not have been included in the notes that I have or in the curriculum syllabus that we are issued with by the ministry.
Okay. Now,
So you,
that is good. You can talk about doing more research for your topics, just to update
yes.
your notes. But also, you can talk about you look at the way other teachers are teaching your subject.
Oh, okay. I'm
Yes.
writing them down.
You research on the way other teachers are teaching your subject, so that way you're up to date with what other people are doing outside of your school.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Now the other thing now we want is parental involvement. How do you encourage parent involvement in your child's education?
One way is you give parent-aided assignments. More so during the time that you require them to use the internet. Other times you may not require them to use technology. You'll ask them questions about families, origin, family tree. So this will encourage the parents to assist, and they will be more involved. Others is maybe if there's an issue that you require the parents to know about their children. For example, in disruptive behavior, you can call the parent, or you want to give assessment scores back. You want to discuss with the parents. I would call the parent to come so that you can discuss the performance of their children.
Good. What more is that you have a WhatsApp group for the parents in your classroom. So if you have any information, you usually just put it in the WhatsApp.
Okay.
That was good. That was well done.
Thank you.
Now, how do you manage classroom behavior and discipline?
At the beginning of every term, no, not every term, at the beginning of the first term, the first year, when we receive learners, we engage in creating the rules that we will, and regulations for the whole class. And these rules and regulations are pinned. After we have summarized them broken them down to be simply the ones that they can simply understand. Normally we don't pass 10. We post them on the classroom wall that as they're coming in, they can easily read. So every child, every learner in that classroom is required to follow them. We also have class representatives who help in monitoring the behavior of the others. If there's any that is disruptive, secretively, they can inform me so that we can talk about that with the learner. You call the learner separately, away from the rest. You can try to inquire why they are engaging in that certain behavior, and you can give a warning, a verbal warning, if they don't change. And then if it continues, you inform the guidance and counseling department. But if in some cases, if it is very serious, then the school administrator will be called, and the parents will also be involved.
Kuna kitu umesema hapo ati sijui secretively ati hiyo sijui nani that child you call them the what, the class
Si pengine anachunachuna watu huko,
hapana, don't say
anararua
secretive.
vitabu.
Hapana, hapana, no, you said that they report to you secretively, the class something.
No. Oh, okay. Oh, I meant that when they do it away from the eyes, from my eyes, that I don't, because I'm not able to identify all. So sometimes they have seen and I haven't seen. They are free.
Okay, that is what you meant. Okay.
Yes.
That's fine. Yes. That's fine. So now.
Then we also have a box. A suggestion box.
Oh, suggestion box. Okay.
Yes, in the classrooms that they can insert notes that they need the teacher to read.
Now, for the suggestion box, is there a situation where you've got something that was difficult to handle?
No. No, not that I can say here.
Oh no, hapana. So that's okay. That's okay. So now the last question for me is, what is your professional development goal?
Timeline 5 to 3 years, maybe in 5 years. I would like that maybe I have progressed in my education, probably with a PhD. But I don't think I will stop teaching. I will continue with teaching history. Yes.
So is it you're remaining as a teacher, you're going into administration? What is the plan?
I would wish to even if I go to administration, but I would wish to still be a classroom teacher as well.
Okay. Aya, sawa. Sasa Faith, unasikia hapo venye amesema hiyo professional development. She has talk about education level, anataka kuongeza masomo, and then also she has talked about the professionally, like the kazi, kwa kazi yake. So in your job, you can say, I will still want to be a teacher, or I would want to get into administration, or I would like to be a lecturer. You know, I would want to get into a more diverse setting, or a more whatever. You know, you can twist it like that.
Okay.
Yes. So wewe nitakupatia 7.5 out of 10.
Thank you.
9, Rashid.
Yes. No, sio 9.
Nani amenipatia 9?
Lucy anafaa kupata
9.5. Amen.
7.5.
Asante Faith. Haya, Rashid, nitakubali yako. Wewe ndio huko.
Yeah.
So
the one you want, the part you have to work on,
yes,
is how to give specific examples of how you differentiate instruction. That part did not come out clearly. And also work on your assessment types. How do you assess your learners?
In the classroom or as a whole?
In the classroom. How do you do formatives? How do you do summatives and things like that?
Oh, all right.
Yes.
All right.
But your discipline plan was excellent. Your integration of technology was good. It was not satisfactory, but we accept it with what you said. That is okay.
Thank you.
Then challenging situation, that was good, but you have to like nini, haukutoa vitu zote, haukuleta. You said I had to give you the things that you was supposed to
Yes.
say. So that is why
I
you lost
appreciate.
those points. But otherwise, I think you are really well prepared.
Thank you.
Mm.
Asante sana.
Sawa, sijui kama Chege sasa ananisikia. Chege.
Yes.
Sasa
Wow.
uko tayari tuanze?
Twende.
Aya. Wewe ndio wa mwisho. Kwa hivyo wao watu wasikunini upate 10. Aya, now start by telling us about your teaching experience and your qualification.
Okay, first of all, I'm a teacher, trained teacher in special education. Hold a bachelor's degree in special education from Mount Kenya University in my home country. I've taught for now 4 years, actual teaching 4 years, but I've had an experience in the field of special education with a non-governmental organization for a long time, spiraling to over 10 years. It's only recently in 2020 that I joined active classroom teaching, having now that I was a graduate in special education. And so I've actually taught both general education and special education because my initial teacher training was in general education before I enrolled in special education.
Okay. Do you have any career highlights? Anything that happened along your career?
Yeah, many. But
Can you
I'll
tell us about them?
maybe I'll point one or two. In the course of teaching, I've had recognition as a best teacher of English when I was in general education. And that time, my subjects performed well out of the many schools that were ranked. My class emerged the best out of around 60 students. Let's say a quarter of them got A's, and the rest, many of them were average. I can say we had no fail. And then, yes, in special education, my unit has been ranked as one of the best in the sub-county. But that was just a certificate that was given because of that feat.
Good. Can you give us an idea of how you plan and structure your lessons?
Generally, lessons are structured in a way that we have steps, but before you get to the actual teaching, you got to start with introduction. And actually, even before you start with introduction, you have to highlight, you try to link that lesson with the previous one, if they are related. Then you introduce the lesson by first of all giving an attractive, even a skit or a song to bring the children to the learning atmosphere. Then you now tell them what you're going to learn, the introductory part, before you engage in the direct instruction part, where you're now teaching, the actual teaching is taking place. And the material that you're supposed to teach is now where it is delivered Then, and all these are timed. The introduction is timed, maybe 5 minutes. The presentation is also timed, maybe 30 minutes, depending on the timing of your zone or your state, or in the case of our country, depending on the country, Kenya, we have 30 minutes. I mean, 35 minutes for primary schools or elementary schools, and 40 for secondary school. So in our case, the demonstration, I mean, the direct instruction can take about, in elementary school, 30 minutes. Then after that, you conclude the lesson, where you can take about 4 minutes by picking the main highlights or restating some of the facts, and also checking the understanding levels, maybe by posing a question or two. And then that way the lesson will have come to an end.
Okay, that was well stated. Do you have a teaching philosophy? Why do you do all this?
First of all, I have the main reason that maybe brought me to this teaching field is twofold. One, I grew up in a home of teachers. Both my parents were teachers, now retired. Then 3 of my sisters were teachers. I could see these things being done at home, said at home. This was like fed into me, and some interest grew in me. I got interested in going into teaching out of that. The second way is because when I joined teaching the teacher training college, I realized, and especially for special education, I realized there was a unit in special education. I got interested. I wanted to know what exactly that was. And so I got deep into it, and enrolled again for another course in special education at diploma level. And then I got more interested. I wanted to know more and more about special education. I found myself now graduating with a degree in special education. So having this background now has placed me in a place that I can say I am doing this to assist humanity, especially children living with special needs and disabilities, to see what they can do, because they can do it. We have seen it being done, and they are able to do it, and it has been done elsewhere, and they can do it even in our country where we are.
Good. I know you talked about how you teach your class, and you gave us the different sections of the class content. Can you tell us how you differentiate instruction within that time? Do you have a way of differentiating instruction for the learners?
Yes, because learners are diverse in nature. All classes are diverse in nature, not only in Kenya, all over the world. And so, having that in mind, you then have to like group them or put them in groups, not really discriminating them, but you want to see these ones are best, these ones are moderate, and these ones are the best. And that way, you cannot mix all of them. So you'll have mixed ability groupings based on your assessment. And then those that are lagging behind in special education, we say they have learning disability. You don't actually label them to say they are slow learners. You give them simpler tasks broken down into very small units, which will not frustrate them. Those that are moderate, you give them instructions and see to it that they are doing it. Then those that are the best, you can give them some activities, and because they have that ability, you can leave them to continue, but you moderate the activities so that they don't break into a confused class. That way, each of those groups will have a different activity based on their abilities.
Okay, and what type of activities do you give these ones who are fast learners?
That you can even give them activities like they can carry out a research, that which is a bit complicated for the others, like find out, for example, you are teaching history like Madam Lucy there, find out about something like colonization of the ones in the outworld, not where they are. Something complicated, that which can engage their minds because their IQ looks like it's way above their average learner.
So,
Yes.
kwa hiyo in that part, what you wanted to say is now you differentiate according to the depth of knowledge.
Yes.
You give them synthesis type of questions or evaluation types of questions. You give
Yes.
them
Yes.
questions that are
Now,
beyond.
yes. Yes. Now applying the Bloom's
Yes,
taxonomy.
yes. So that
Yes. Yes.
just chip that inside the thing, so they know that where's your if you also know Bloom alikuwa. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
And how do you assess learning? Do you have a way of a structured way of assessing your learning?
Yes. Assessment is a critical part in every learning situation, where as you continue teaching, I mean within the lesson, you can apply what we call a formative form of assessment, maybe asking oral questions. The student will lift up their hand to answer, or you can even ask them to maybe even lift up something like a card, colored cards. If you know the answer, lift the black card. If you don't know, lift the yellow card, something like that within the lesson. Or you can even ask them to write as you check. Maybe you are moving around, seeing a piece of paper or a notebook or just something. Or maybe they have tablets. Maybe they type the answer. You see it being typed there.
Good. Now,
Then
endelea.
for formative, I mean summative
summative.
evaluation, yeah, you take maybe after the end of a topic, you give a test, maybe some questions, 10 or 20, whichever number, depending on the ability of the learners, to see how the topic has been performed, which eventually will add to any formative, rather summative evaluation that will come later, because that can also add into the overall performance of the learners. Maybe that whatever comes out of that will be used to grade them maybe at the end of that class. So from the formative and the summative, you are able to see how the learning has been taking place.
Okay, that's well done. Now let's move on to challenging teaching situations. Have you ever faced any challenging situation, and how did you handle the situation?
Yes, I have had. In a situation where there was this young boy who had a mental challenge, that is a disability, and sometimes he was disruptive. So he would decide, there was a tree next to the school compound, or rather in the school compound. The boy would climb on top of the tree, decide to stay there, pluck the fruits and throw them down. Then I had to stand down there because I cannot climb the tree, use my own communication to urge the boy to stop and calm down. Finally, he was able to calm down. and I was able to take him to class, calm him down, and that situation was arrested that way.
Hebu ngoja. So you arrested the situation was the boy climbing the tree.
Yes.
And the way you solved it is you talked to the boy and he came down from the tree.
Yes, because he was threatening to throw himself down.
Now,
So you
can you give us another example, but this time involve parents and administration? Like, give us a complex example that involves a parent and administration.
So the other one is
Just
about.
continue. What I can say is just continue the story of this boy, but put it to the level where there now administration is involved or the parent is involved.
And then the school administration had to come in also to try and understand what the situation was all about.
Yeah.
And then they also came in by they actually called the parents to explain what the situation was all about. And then the parent was made aware so that whenever it happens any other time, then they should be aware what the situation is. But the parent was also made to know that the situation was not bad, but it was solved at the school level. So the purpose of the parent was just information.
Ngoja. Wacha nikusaidie because you unaenda kuharibu na umeshatengeneza. So when the parent was made aware, the parent was really thankful that the teacher took this initiative to calm the boy, because that day was the same day this boy was put under medication. So this was actually a reaction of the medication. So this situation, even though I was doing it like a normal teacher was doing their work, it actually involved a lot of calming down and releasing the pressure of the kid. So I did not know that my doing it that way was going to be such a savior for the boy, because the medication was the doctor actually found out later that the medication was the dosage was not the prescribed.
It was working against the boy.
Yes, unasikia. So unaona may involve parent so that parent appreciates what the teacher did in the school.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's the story. But it's a it's a good story. Okay. Ebu tuambie, now tell us about how you integrate technology into your teaching.
I use a school laptop provided by the ministry and the school projector to project slides which are prepared, maybe using PowerPoint, and then the learners are able to see some of those slides in class. Or you can even have a story which is recorded, and it is recorded and the learners are able to see it, like the storyteller telling the story from a program in the school laptop. We also have in our school, we have a television, both in the staff room and in the one of the resource rooms. As a teacher, you prepare some materials, then you have the children watch the material in the resource room, where they can interact with the materials, ask questions, and you clarify things as they watch. Then you can also use your phone. It's the simplest technology you have. Take photos or pictures of interests as you go home. You can even display them using the school laptop and the projector for children to see maybe those things that they only hear, maybe they have never seen, and you show them in, using the project.
Good. And this technology, this school television, you can actually just say that the school television, sometimes I record myself, I record a lesson, and then I show the students the lesson, so that instead of those who are absent, they can always come back and watch the lesson. So that's one way I let them catch up with me.
Okay.
So now, how do you encourage parental involvement? I know that you had a situation with that child, but how do you encourage other parents to add other parental involvements?
You can call the parents to give a progress report. You can even write messages or some notes in a message form. You can even write some short letters explaining some situations, maybe about the kids' behavior, or even not only negative, it can also be positive, what the child is doing in school. On top of that, you can also have chats, group chats, where you discuss issues, pertinent issues within the class. The parents get to know the progress. All of them now. It's like you're having a meeting, but it is a chat in a group, WhatsApp group. And that way the parents, you are in touch with the parents, even if sometimes you don't meet them physically. But through that technology, you get in touch with them.
Good. And how do you manage classroom? First of all, do you have classroom behavior issues?
Yes. Any class would have behavior issues.
And how do you manage them?
First of all, you have to have a behavior management plan as a teacher or as a school. But in this case, I would say as a teacher, where you are managing your own class. But the first, I think, for me, I think the most important one, the first thing, fasting. You got to create a very good rapport with your class, where there is a good relationship with the kids, between you and the kids. That way, the children will even see it not good to misbehave when you are around or when you are in class. The other way is maybe you can have even preparations itself. A teacher who is well prepared is likely not to encounter indiscipline cases in class. And so the teacher himself or herself should also be prepared. That's also a way of managing your own class behavior. And by preparing, I mean you should know what you are saying, at what time, and why. The content, I mean, the content must come out clearly, because if the children feel they are being confused or taken in the wrong direction, some of them may start being disruptive, making noise. Or if there is a disruptive learner in class, instead of disrupting the whole class as a teacher, you can call the name of that child, but not provocatively, and ask them to maybe to calm down or to keep quiet and listen. Yeah, you are calling attention. In other words, you are calling attention in that classroom situation. Or you can just move close to where the kid is and ask them to be silent or to remain, to stop the disruptive behavior. That way, you are doing that to avoid also as a teacher, you are doing that to avoid disrupting the entire class. So as you do that, you are teaching, but you are also controlling the behavior of the learners. Sometimes you don't want to talk. You can just walk to where the kid is, maybe stick a note where the disruptive learner is, written something like keep quiet or concentrate. That way, you are teaching, you have not disrupted the others, and you have controlled the bad behavior, the unbecoming behavior in class.
Now, the last 1 minute of what you've just said is what I wanted. When you started talking about disruptive, how to handle, if there's a disruptive learner, this is what you do. That is the answer I was looking for. So you can talk about proximity. You go closer to the learner and just talk to the learner, or discreetly just ask the learner, "Hey, concentrate, get back to work. You know, you're being distracted by something like that." That is what I was looking for.
Yeah.
You said the whole thing, but you included other things that were not for the question.
Oh, okay.
Final question: what are your professional development goals for the foreseeable future?
First, I would say I'm planning to enroll for a higher degree, a master's degree, continue and get more knowledge, especially in special education. And I think I'll still be teaching because I'm already a teacher. Continue making my country a better place by continuing imparting knowledge, creating good citizenship in the learners, and making them who they are supposed to be. And that way, I'll be enrolling in other courses, maybe guidance and counseling, behavior management, and general professional development courses for teachers to make yourself better and acquire the best practices in the teaching profession.
Good. Asante sana. You have answered most of the questions with the requirements that they are supposed to have. Kwa
Yeah.
hivyo, because the teacher cannot give 10 over 10, tutakupatia tutakupatia 8.5 out of 10. Eh?
I think that is still an A.
Yeah, that is still an A. Yeah.
Yes.
You've answered most of the questions the way you really should answer them.
Na sasa nilikuwa nataka kuuliza.
Yes.
Before maybe you said in Rose.
Rose, is Rose also interested?
Yeah, namuona tu, I don't know. Maybe she will tell us.
Okay, let's have a question and answer session first.
Yeah, I wanted to ask. Are these questions common for all the sponsors or
the direction
sponsors?
of the questions, not really the questions, but the direction of the questions.
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
Yes, they are common.
Okay. And are there situations where the principal's questions and the sponsor's questions could be married? I mean, they are pointing towards the same direction.
Principal's questions are mostly about classroom management and classroom behavior. So that is where they are. Principal ukiangalia sana, it will be classroom management. How do you manage your class? Yeah. Sponsor is more about you as a teacher. How can you, are you aware of teaching philosophies? Are you aware of what makes you a good teacher? Things like that. Yeah. And also principals will be looking at how are you, can you integrate with the community that you want to get into? Do you have other communities that you are working in, and how can you transfer that knowledge? Are you a good addition to their team? What else are you bringing in that is not education? So things like that. Yeah. And also principals are majorly, you have this thing called subject specialist, and subject specialists will delve into the content of your area. If it is special ed, they will talk about IEPs. They'll talk about, hey, how do you develop your IEPs, and and how do you develop handle students with this type of disability and that type of disability, and what specific examples of learners have you worked with this type of disability, and what did you do, and what were the challenges and stuff like that. So those are the ways that it goes. Aya, Faith, kuna swali? Lucy, do you have questions about your experience? Ala. Faith, kuna swali?
Not really a question, but
Mm.
just to be thankful, because actually I didn't know how to approach most of the questions.
Mm.
And being my first time doing it, at least I've learned a lot.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, I started
So
doing this
I'm
like
so much
2 years
appreciative.
ago, and
Okay.
wale tulifanya nao sahii wako huku.
Okay.
Kwa hivyo
Thank you
tunakuja.
for that.
Wewe uko njiani unakuja, si ni ticket tu hujapata. Ticket ya ndege tu hujapata.
Kumbe,
Eh?
lakini you know, I think the problem is hapo kwa competition maybe where if they get or they have preferred countries or candidates, or do we have something like that? Maybe they say, these people from Kenya, tuchukue wale wa I can see a lot of Filipinos and Jamaicans.
Sahii they really love Kenyans. Sahii wa Kenya ndio wameanza kuingia.
Okay.
So it is our lucky, it's our lucky year. This year alone we brought 100 and about 120.
These year ending
Hii August yenye hii watu kuna watu wako nyumbani wamekwama kwa airport. We are about 120 wameingia kwa group yetu.
Okay. Acha tungoje tuone. Maybe it shall be well.
Yeah, so usiseme ati Filipinos, they've been coming for the last 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sawa.
Rose, sijui kama Rose amesha unmute ama bado. Nadhani Rose is just listening in. So I want to stop here because this is 1.5 hours of content.
Kindly, before you stop.
Yes.
There is this agency called Interledge.